Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry, and today it is the video that we lovingly refer to here on the channel as The Beast. I reveal my perfect offseason plan for the Washington Commanders here in 2026, and we're going to be covering everything from trades to free agency to a mock draft, roster cuts. We got it all for you guys, so grab a drink, settle in. It's going to be a longer video, guys, just a fair warning, but we are going to go through the entire Commanders offseason and what I would like this to look like as a fan of the Washington Commanders. Now, let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. What's one move that you really want the Commanders to make this offseason? What move do you think can help this team get over the top? Let me know what you guys think to kick off today's show. Now, just so you guys know, we got 5 categories of things that we're going to be breaking down in this perfect offseason plan. I'll go over a couple of roster cuts to save us some money against the cap. We got 1 contract extension, 1 blockbuster trade. We got, I think, 8 free agency signings, and then we have a 7-round Commanders mock draft to finish things up. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind, before we get into this offseason plan, that this is not a predictions video. I am not saying that I think all these moves are going to happen. This is an idealized version of how I would like the 2026 offseason to play out. That's why we're calling it the perfect offseason plan. Okay, it's not the most realistic offseason plan, but it's the one that I would consider the best possible outcome for the Washington Commanders. But with that said, it's not like I'm going to be trading for Patrick Mahomes or something like that, right? I'm going to keep this somewhat realistic with things that could actually feasibly happen over the course of the next few months as Adam Peters and Dan Quinn build out this 2026 Commanders roster. Okay, so we'll start here with where the Commanders are at in their 2026 cap space, which right now sits at about $90 million, depending on which source you look at over the cap spo track. They got different numbers in different projections, but most places have it around $90 million. So that'll be our starting point here. And also keep in mind that is including the $22 extra million that the Commanders are expected to get from the cap space increasing. Okay, and it could be up to $25 million, but the low estimate is $22 million. So that's what we'll do here, which puts the Commanders at about $90 million as a starting point here. So we'll start with some roster cuts, and honestly, with that much cap space, you don't have to do too many cuts if you're the Washington Commanders this offseason, but I think 2 that make a lot of sense. Marshawn Lattimore is the one that makes the most sense. I mean, that one is coming one way or another here in the next few weeks. It saves the Commanders $18.5 million against the cap. There's 0 dead money. Marshawn Lattimore stinks at football. Everything just lines up perfectly there, right? And then Percy Butler, a guy that has been a safety in this building for multiple years. The safety room was in a bad spot last year, and Butler still barely played. And you can save over $2 million by letting him go. That one just makes a lot of sense to me. So when you do these 2 cuts, that increases the cap that we have to work with on today's video to over $110 million for the Washington Commanders here during the 2026 offseason. And you better believe we're going to be spending that money, unlike what the Commanders did last year where they had a bunch of money and really didn't spend a whole lot of it during the 2025 offseason. So we'll start here by paying our franchise left tackle, Laremy Tunsil, and we're going to get this done first things first in the offseason, okay? Adam Peters has already said that, he's learned his lesson. Don't extend players late into the offseason because you might lose them for the entirety of training camp, just like you did with Terry McLaurin last year. So this would make Laremy Tunsil the highest paid left tackle in all of football. I think he's earned it. He's one of the best pass protectors. He did a really good job as a run blocker last year as well. He is the rock of this Washington Commanders offensive line. You traded a bunch of picks to get him last year. It just doesn't make sense to let him go after the 2026 season. You want to lock him up for the long-term future. I'm adding 2 more years to his contract with $30 million per season on each of those 2 years. Now we'll get to some players that I would bring back as re-sign candidates here. I'd bring back Chris Paul, who started at left guard towards the end of the season, but as you guys will see over the course of this offseason plan, he's actually going to be our swing guard. And for somebody that's as good as Chris Paul to be your swing guard for the next 2 years at less than $5 million per year, I think that's a really good investment. Then I'm going to be bringing back Tress Way as one of the best punters in football. I'm going to bring back Jake Moody as well. I thought he was good enough, and he's going to be really cheap to bring back. Jeremy McNichols, I think, is a good receiving back, very underrated player. I think he could be still a really good number 2 running back option for us, and he's also cheap. Just $2.6 million is his Spotrac market value right now. Then we get to Jacob Martin and Von Miller, 2 guys that I thought, showed some pretty decent stuff as rotational guys. I don't think they're starting caliber dudes, but I think as rotational pieces, they're just fine, especially because they're very affordable. I'm bringing back Chris Rodriguez Jr. as a 4th running back, as you guys will see over the course of this video. Another guy that's really cheap. And then Sheldon Day, another vet minimum contract there as a depth defensive tackle heading into next season. So coming up next here on the perfect offseason plan here for the Washington Commanders in 2026, I got a blockbuster offseason trade that I would love to see happen for the Burgundy and Gold. I got some players in free agency that I would like the Commanders to sign, and then I got my 7-round Commanders mock draft that goes along with this perfect offseason plan. We'll finish today's video by taking a look at the updated lineup heading into the 2026 season that I am proposing. But before we get into the rest of today's show, check out our website here, chatsports.com/JDT, to pick up this Jayden Daniels T-shirt today. And I personally picked out this design, guys, because I think it's absolutely sweet. You got Jayden Daniels on there multiple times. You got the Commanders logo along with his signature on there. You got that nice black base on the T-shirt. So if you guys want this today, it helps out the channel. It goes chatsports.com/JDT. That link is down there in the comments and description of today's show. If you guys click that link and make a purchase, part of the proceeds go back to us here at the Commanders Report. So if you want to help us out here, those proceeds go to making our graphics better and improving our hardware. The monitors and cameras and TVs and such that we pay for here. Pays our rent, all that different stuff. So if you want to help out the channel, you appreciate the content we provide for you guys, and you guys want a new Jayden Daniels T-shirt, you can go chatsports.com/JDT to pick it up today. All right, so the trade. I'm going to be getting Jayden Daniels' former LSU teammate, wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. here. And yes, I do believe that you're going to have to give up the number 7 overall pick to make this happen. But I'm going to get the Jaguars to agree to give me their 2nd-round draft pick at number 56. I still think you can get a starting caliber player at number 56, and Brian Thomas Jr. is the type of long-term investment that I want to make here in Washington. He's still on his rookie contract, so he's not going to be going up against the cap all that much. It would create arguably the best wide receiver duo in football with Terry McLaurin and Brian Thomas Jr. on either side of the lineup for the Commanders offense. And also he's got established chemistry with Jayden Daniels. So I think, you make this trade, I think it's going to be more than worth the investment. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is going to become, the next great wide receiver in the NFL with Jayden Daniels throwing him the ball. And you still have the same amount of draft picks that you had before the trade happened. So for me, this is worth the investment if you're the Washington Commanders. But now we get into free agency, and I'm going to make another splash here. I'm going to bring in Trey Hendrickson. Now, I have said on this channel that I think signing Trey Hendrickson isn't the most realistic, because I do think he will make more than the $21 million over just 1 year that I'm proposing here. But Pro Football Focus keeps saying that this is what he's going to go for. And, I'm getting all these numbers, by the way, from either Spotrac or Pro Football Focus market values. And if I can get Trey Hendrickson for just 1 year, $21 million, I'm going to take that. All right. I think he's probably going to get into the 30s. And that's probably the area in which I'm like, maybe you don't sign him if you're the Washington Commanders. But at this price tag, it's too much of a bargain for me not to take him on. He's an awesome one-on-one winner on the edge. He's also a great run defender with great strength. It just makes too much sense to not bring in Trey Hendrickson for this price tag. So in my perfect offseason scenario, Trey Hendrickson becomes a Washington Commander. But I'm also going to add a really good veteran slot wide receiver to pair with Terry McLaurin and Brian Thomas Jr. to form one of the best wide receiver trios in the game in Christian Kirk. And right now, Spotrac projects just a 1 year contract, just $5.5, 5.4, whatever you guys want to call it, $1 million. And if you guys saw Christian Kirk play this year, man, I think he's worth more than that. I know he's a little bit older. He's dealt with some injuries over the last few years, but when he's on the field, he is a really good slot wide receiver with reliable hands. He's a good route runner. He's a willing blocker as well, brings some good size to the table for a slot guy. I just think that he's a really good role player on a winning football team, and I would love to have him as our slot wide receiver for a year here in Washington. Then I'm going to get another weapon for Jayden Daniels in this offense, Kyle Pitts. Pitts. I'm going to sign him to a 3-year deal worth $16 million per season. He was the number one receiver or tight end receiving-wise against man coverage in 2025. He absolutely cooked man coverage, and if you are playing man coverage versus the Washington Commanders, I want you to pay. So Kyle Pitts, really solid hands, really good athlete. He was a top 5 draft pick once upon a time ago for a reason, and honestly, Jayden Daniels needs his safety blanket. He's not going to have Zach Ertz. He needs somebody else in there that's a true receiving threat like Ertz was. I think Kyle Pitts can fit into that role nicely for the foreseeable future. But then I'm also going to make a splash at the guard position, and this is another situation where when I saw this projected value, I thought it was too much of a bargain not to take it, and it's Alijah Vera-Tucker, the guard, formerly taken by the New York Jets. And I'm going to sign him to a 4-year deal, $12.8 million per season. That's a bargain as far as I'm concerned for somebody of his caliber, at his age, at that position. I think that's an upgrade at left guard for the Washington Commanders on day one. Then I'll go with Donovan Wilson, somebody that played in Dan Quinn's defense there in Dallas for many seasons. I'll sign him to a 1-year, $5 million deal to join the Commanders secondary while the team figures out their future at that position. Then I'm going to bring Jeff Okudah from the Minnesota Vikings, where he played under Durante Jones there with Minnesota, over to Washington as our third cornerback. If Mike Samerstrill sucks on the outside, we can just plop Jeff Okudah, who was serviceable in Minnesota's defense this year, kind of similar to a Jonathan Jones type of situation. Then I'll go with a backup quarterback here. I won't be bringing back Marcus Mariota because I don't think he particularly fits the under center style of offense that David Blau is going to want to run here, but Tyrod Taylor is somebody that's got a similar physical skill set to Jayden. He's a mobile guy that can run around a little bit, decent playmaker, good decision maker, smart guy, really good culture dude as well, and affordable. 1 year, $4 million for somebody that I think is a better fit for the offense than Marcus Mariota is now, and somebody that is a pretty good backup piece for a guy like Jayden Daniels. Then I'll go with Daniel Ekuale, a really good run defending defensive tackle to join the defensive line rotation here. He's coming off an injury, so there's a little bit of a risk, but that also means you can pay a little bit less for him. I'll sign him to a vet minimum $1.25 million deal on a 1-year contract. So make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you want the Commanders to actually spend some money this offseason, I mean, last year they had a lot of cap space left on the table, okay? This year I don't want a whole lot of cap space left on the table. I want them to make the most of not paying their quarterback anything. I mean, Jayden Daniels is a super cheap quarterback right now, and he's got a star-level skill set. I think the Commanders need to take advantage of that. They need to spend this offseason. If you're with me on that, click that thumbs up icon. So now let's get into my mock draft. I've made my extension moves. I've made my trade. I've gone and made some moves in free agency. Now let's add some young talent to this Commanders roster. And with me, making that Brian Thomas Jr. trade, that means our first pick is on day 2 of the NFL draft in round 2 here at pick number 56. And I'm going to take the versatile safety out of Oregon, Dylan Thieneman, somebody that, at 207 pounds is an absolute freak of nature. He's a speed demon at over 200 pounds, and he's perfectly built for the modern National Football League. And in this Durante Jones, Brian Flores style of defense that Durante Jones is going to be bringing in here to Washington, you need guys that can be used as chess pieces. I think Thieneman can be a day 1 starter for you and can move all around the formation, and he can be a legitimate piece to the Commanders defense on day 1. Then in round 3 here at pick number 71, I'm going to take Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. He's somebody that's a little rough around the edges, but he's got all the physical talent you could want. All right, he needs to get a little bit more refined in both his run blocking technique and his route running technique. But if I trust my wide receiver coach to develop that, he's got blazing speed, really good hands, can make really difficult, tough catches at the catch point. He's awesome after the catch, and he's a willing blocker. I will give him that. He's somebody that does play with high effort. So if he can just cultivate some of the natural gifts that he has a little bit more, I think that he could be down the road a really great complement to Brian Thomas Jr., and you could be looking at BTJ and Omar Cooper Jr. As one of the better wide receiver duos in the National Football League. So I like this investment on the offensive side of the ball. Then in round 5, pick 145, I'm going to take one of the winners of the Senior Bowl this year, which is linebacker out of Pitt, Kyle Kyle Lewis. Right now, the consensus big board still has him around the 145 range in terms of where, everybody's ranking him on their big boards right now. So I'm going to take advantage of that. I think this guy is a day two, type of player where he's really good in coverage. And, he was awesome in the one-on-ones in Mobile this year, man. So I love Kyle Lewis. I think he'd be a great fit here in Washington and a great compliment to Jordan McGee and Frankie Louvu in the Commanders' second level of the defense. Then in round 6, I'm going to take my favorite corner at the Shrine Bowl this year, period, is slot corner out of Oregon, Jayden Kennedy, or Kennedy, however you want to pronounce it. This guy is just sticky, all right? He's small, but he is really good in coverage. He's competitive as all hell, and there was nobody that could get open on this guy during Shrine Bowl week. Like, he was just absolutely shutting people down, and those are the types of people I want in my secondary. Now, obviously the size is going to be an issue, which is why I'm not taking him higher than, round 6. But, in round 6, if I can just get a damn good football player, and that's exactly what this kid is, I'm absolutely going to take a flyer on him and see if he can maybe even earn a starting job by the end of his rookie season. Then also in round 6, I'm going to go corner again. I'm going to double dip at this position, this time at outside corner, another really fast player in Devin Marshall from NC State, another Shrine Bowl guy. Awesome recovery speed, man. And, if you trust, your defensive coaching staff and your defensive coordinator and Durante Jones, who was a DB's coach and a pass game coordinator there in Minnesota, if you trust those guys to develop young players, if Mike Sainristil doesn't work out, Devin Marshall with that recovery speed could be a diamond in the rough. He needs to work on his mirroring ability a little bit more, and his technique needs to get better. There's a reason why, again, he's going on day 3, but I love the raw physical tools that he brings to the table, and I'd like that as a developmental piece. Then in round 7, you found Bill Krosky-Merritt in round 7 last year. Why not go out and get another guy? And it's another Pitt Panther, Desmond Reed, who is a weapon as a receiver, man. Like, this guy can make great catches. He can run routes. He's really good after the catch, and that's kind of what the Commanders need long term. You're bringing back Jeremy McNichols in this scenario as your day 1 RB2 and kind of your third down back. Bill Krosky-Merritt is probably your future as the every down, under center type of running back. But Desmond Reed has a chance to be your future in terms of being your number 2 guy, your third down guy, and the fact that, the national media is as low as they are on this guy, like, just go watch his film. Like, this guy is electric. Now, here's my mock draft haul for you guys. I got 2 Oregon Ducks, 2 Pitt Panthers, and then 2 players there with red teams, in the middle there, sandwiched in between them. But I love Dylan Thieneman with his size and speed combination, his versatility. Omar Cooper Jr. could be a future wide receiver 2 option to Brian Thomas Jr. in this scenario. Kyle Lewis can immediately plug into the linebacker rotation. Jayden Kennedy, the corner, the slot guy out of Oregon, sticky guy that could, maybe carve himself out a role in year 1. Devin Marshall, a developmental outside cornerback piece, and then Desmond Reed, somebody that could fight his way into the rotation by the end of the year as a dynamic running back option and pass catcher. Now we can take a look here at my projected starting offense with this perfect offseason plan according to me. Of course, you got Jayden Daniels as your quarterback, Laramie Tunsil returning as your left tackle. You plug in Alijah Vera-Tucker at left guard. That's a huge upgrade as far as I'm concerned. You still have Tyler Biadasz, Sam Cosmi, and Josh Connerly Jr. to round out your own line. But then look at that wide receiver room, man. That's a lot better than what we had last year. Terry McLaurin and Brian Thomas Jr. as your top 2 duo, with Christian Kirk as an excellent slot option. Then you get Kyle Pitts at tight end, an excellent receiving guy. And then you got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt at running back. And then you guys can take a look at some of the second wave players on offense. Tyrod Taylor as your backup quarterback. You've got Brandon Coleman. That's not our Brandon Coleman, F. Ponzi in the chat. But then we get Chris Paul as your swing guard. You've got Nick Allegretti as your backup center. Got Omar Cooper Jr. as a developmental future wide receiver 2 as your 4. You got Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane still on the team to see if they can take the next step. Jeremy McNichols is your third down back. Got Desmond Reed as a really good third option that can catch passes. John Bates is your blocking tight end, and then Ben Sinnott still on the team as well. Then we get to the defensive side of the football here. where you've got Quan Martin. I'm going to project him as kind of a nickel player. I think he's a better nickel than he is a safety. Maybe you don't want to completely give up on him. He was one of the best nickels in the country when he was playing at Illinois. So I'm going to project him as the starting nickel here. But then you get Trey Hendrickson at defensive end, Deron Payne and Javon Kinlaw on the interior. Dorrance Armstrong is your other defensive end. Frankie Louvu, a great fit in this Durante Jones style. Blitz-heavy defense as one of your linebackers. Jordan McGee, the speedster, at the other linebacker spot. Then you get Trey Amos back from his injury. Mike Sainristil is your other outside corner, who I, by the way, think is an awesome fit for this Brian Flores style of defense. Then you got Dylan Thieneman and Donovan Wilson as your starting safety duo. Then you get to the second wave on the defense, plus your special teams guys. Von Miller and Jacob Martin would be your backup defensive ends and your rotational guys. Then you get to Johnny Newton and Daniel Ekuale as your second wave defensive tackles. You got Kyle Lewis as your third rotational linebacker. Will Harris, somebody that can play nickel, can play safety, still on the team there. Josh Kennedy as your number 2 nickel. Maybe he beats out Quan Martin, who knows in camp. Then you get Jeff Okuda as your backup corner in case Mike Sainristil stinks. Then in special teams, you have Tressway, Jake Moody, and Tyler Ott. And for me, guys, I spent a lot of my cap space here on this perfect offseason plan. I think that this is a roster that, especially with the scheme upgrades with David Blau and Durante Jones leading the way play calling wise on either side of the ball, if everybody can stay healthy, especially, Jayden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, Brian Thomas Jr., Trey Hendrickson, like this is a roster that can legitimately do some damage in 2026. And I think that this is a team that could compete for a Super Bowl in 2026 next season. So now it's the moment of truth. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Grade my Commanders off-season plan down there in the comments. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. For me, I'm gonna do an A+, obviously, because it's the perfect offseason plan according to me. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. And thank you guys so much for making it to the end of today's video with me. I know today is a bit of a beast. We call it the Beast for a reason, but it's also one of my favorite videos I do all year long. If you guys love the in-depth Commanders content we provide for you guys here on the channel, type those real ones in the chat if you made it to the end of the video. I greatly appreciate it. And that'll be it for this year's 2026 perfect offseason plan for the Washington Commanders. Make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already for more Commanders offseason content all throughout the 2026 offseason.